As Caesar and his terrifying legion stood before the gates of a Gallic city, no one knew that this man, one of Rome's greatest conquerors, had only one humble and urgent thought in his mind: to pay his debts. In the eyes of the true power brokers in Rome, Caesar, a patrician from a less than top-tier family, was nothing more than a mad gambler who had mortgaged his entire future to his creditors. He had paved his political path with astronomical debts, and in the end, this gamble had won him only two things: a legal license to plunder the lands of Gaul and the command of a few Roman legions. To conquer the land of Gaul, vast, fertile, and defended by millions of fierce tribal warriors, was, in the eyes of all, nothing short of madness. But for Caesar, retreat was not an option. A single defeat would not only mean the loss of honor, it meant he would be torn to shreds by his creditors in Rome. On the banks of the Sabis River, his legions were caught in a surprise attack by tens of thousands of the fiercest Gallic warriors, the Nervii, and were on the verge of collapse. The Roman lines were shattered, the eagle standards faltering. In that life or death moment, Caesar did not command from the rear. This cornered gambler personally grabbed a shield from a common soldier, charged into the front line, and fought shoulder to shoulder with his men. His personal act of heroism miraculously steadied the breaking morale and ultimately led the legions to turn defeat into victory. Caesar's enemies were not just men, but nature itself. To intimidate the Germanic tribes across the Rhine River and secure his business operation in Gaul, he decided to do something that would strike terror into the hearts of all barbarians: cross the Rhine. Without modern machinery, he commanded his legions to build a sturdy wooden bridge over the wide, fast-flowing river in just 10 days. When the Roman legions marched across that bridge and appeared on Germanic soil, the terror they inspired was like that of a divine intervention. This was not just a military operation. It was a final declaration of his power, meant to secure investment in the eyes of the entire Gallic world. And at Alesia, this great gamble reached its endgame. He trapped the main Gallic army inside the fortress. But then, a much larger Gallic relief army arrived from the outside and in turn besieged Caesar. He was in an impossible situation. If he failed here, even if he managed to escape with his life, the entire fortune the army he had built through 8 years of plunder would all vanish into thin air. Caught between two fronts, facing a combined enemy force that outnumbered him many times over, and with no path of retreat, Caesar orchestrated the greatest military masterpiece of his life. He ordered the construction of 2 rings of fortifications, totaling over 20 miles in length. The inner ring turned the city into a prison. The outer ring turned his own army into an impregnable fortress. More lethally, in the space between and in front of the walls, he laid a deadly field of traps, ditches, sharpened stakes, and iron caltrops. This death donut transformed a disadvantageous open field battle into a defensive siege, a fight the Romans were born to win. The Gauls' numerical superiority was completely nullified by the fortifications and the deadly traps. In the end, with this marvel of engineering, he fought 2 armies simultaneously and achieved a miraculous victory. After 8 years of war, Caesar had conquered Gaul. He not only forged loyalty through shared blood and terror, but through brutal conquest and efficient plunder, he showered his followers with immense wealth, turning an invincible army into his own private weapon. Caesar's personal debt was paid with the wealth of all Gaul. But what of Rome's debt? The Republic, just as ambitious as Caesar, had been drowning in debt for centuries through endless expansion. War after war had turned Rome itself into a colossal gambler, forced to launch new conquests just to pay for the old ones. The Roman legion, once, it was an invincible force of citizens, of land-owning farmers who fought to defend their homes and the honor of the Republic. For centuries it had expanded Rome's borders and in the darkest hours had defended its very existence with flesh and blood. But year after year of war had bled the Republic's foundations dry. The citizen farmers who formed the legion's backbone found that a long campaign in Spain or Gaul meant years away from home. They often returned not to glory, but to overgrown fields and properties swallowed by the aristocracy. The citizen army was dying because the citizens themselves had been bled dry. And so, in the end, this army, used as a bargaining chip to pay Caesar's debts and thoroughly privatized in a crucible of fire and gold, followed his will, turned its swords upon the Republic and destroyed it. For the next 500 years, Rome itself would continue to pay an ever higher interest on its debts. Next episode, we turn our attention to another Roman emperor, centuries later, to see how he attempted to escape the mire of the privatized legions and make Rome great again. Who do you think he was?